Inventor Jae-hyun Oh crawled through the wreckage of a destroyed hegemony fighter that had crashed in the Korean mountains. His salvage team had been working for weeks to recover every piece of alien technology they could find. The underground workshops beneath Seoul were full of captured alien devices, each one being carefully studied and reverse-engineered. "This power coupling is incredible," he called to his partner, Bo Song, who was examining the ship's weapon systems. "It's 3 times more efficient than anything we've ever built." Bo looked up from the alien weapon, her face covered in grease and her eyes bright with excitement. "Yeah, but look at this. The weapon can only fire in straight lines. No curves, no arcing shots. It's powerful but completely predictable." They had been working together for months, combining alien technology with human engineering principles. The results were surprising. While alien technology was more advanced, human designs were more flexible and reliable. Commander So-young Kim stood in the briefing room of humanity's new underground military complex. Around her sat the pilots and commanders of Earth's guerrilla space force. These weren't the neat, organized military units of the old days. They were creative fighters who used whatever resources they could find. "The next mission is different," she told her team. "We're not trying to break the blockade. We're going to make the aliens think we're crazy." Her plan was simple but brilliant. Human ships would launch seemingly random attacks on the alien blockade. Some would retreat immediately, others would fight until destroyed, and a few would just fly around in circles doing nothing. To logical alien minds, the attacks would appear to have no purpose. "The goal is confusion," So-young continued. "Every time they think they understand our strategy, we'll do something completely different. Eventually, they'll start making mistakes trying to predict the unpredictable." Dr. Shung Ho-yoon worked in the most secret laboratory on Earth, deep beneath the Himalayan mountains. His team was developing human enhancement programs, but not the kind anyone expected. Instead of trying to make humans more like aliens, they were making humans more human. "The volunteers from the outer colonies show the most promise," he told his assistant while reviewing test results. "They've already survived in harsh alien environments. Now we're enhancing their natural adaptability." The enhancement process was dangerous. Many volunteers didn't survive, but those who did came out stronger, faster, and more resilient than any human had ever been. More importantly, they kept their human creativity and unpredictability. One successful volunteer was a former miner named Kyung-soo who had lost his family when the colonies rejected Earth. The enhancements had given him incredible strength and endurance, but he still thought like a human. When asked how he would attack an alien ship, his answer made the scientists smile. "I'd ram it with my ship, then jump out and fight them hand to hand while the wreckage was still burning." It was exactly the kind of illogical, aggressive response that alien tactical computers couldn't predict. Jae-hyun and Bo-ram's workshop had become the center of Earth's technological revolution. They had created weapons that could change their firing patterns mid-flight, ships that could rebuild themselves during battle, and armor that got stronger when damaged. "The aliens build things to be perfect," Jae-hyun explained to General Hyun-woo during a demonstration. "We build things to survive. Their technology breaks when one component fails. Our technology keeps working even when half of it is destroyed." He showed the general a human fighter that had been heavily damaged in battle. Despite missing engines, weapons, and half its hull, the ship was still functional. Emergency systems had taken over. Backup power was running, and jury-rigged repairs kept everything working. "An alien ship with that much damage would be dead in space," Bo-ram added. "Our ships just get angry and keep fighting." The breakthrough came when Dr. Hae-jin Park made a discovery about the biotechnology that had been placed in human bodies. While studying tissue samples from enhanced volunteers, she found something unexpected. "The alien biotechnology is adapting to our modifications," she told the emergency council. "It's trying to counter the enhancements, but it's not designed for this kind of biological chaos." She showed them microscopic images of alien machines being overwhelmed by human biological systems that refused to follow logical patterns. Human bodies were treating the alien technology like an infection and developing immunity to it. "If we can accelerate this process," Hae-jin continued, "we might be able to free humans from their dependence on Earth's environment." The first major test of Earth's new capabilities came when So-young's guerrilla fleet launched Operation Chaos against the hegemony blockade. 20 human ships attacked the alien formation using completely random tactics. Some ships charged directly at the aliens, others ran away, and a few just spun in circles while broadcasting human music. The alien commanders were completely confused. Their tactical computers couldn't find any pattern in the human attacks. When they tried to respond logically, human ships would suddenly change tactics and do something completely different. Target prioritization is impossible, Commander Vextai reported to his superiors. The humans attack with no apparent strategy. When we adapt to counter one tactic, they abandon it and do something else. The battle lasted for hours, with human ships appearing and disappearing throughout the solar system. The aliens destroyed several human vessels but lost twice as many of their own. More importantly, they had lost confidence in their tactical superiority. That night, enhanced humans began their most dangerous mission yet. Volunteers like Kyung-soo were smuggled onto captured alien ships to learn how hegemony technology really worked. These weren't scientific missions. They were sabotage operations designed to cause maximum confusion. Kyung-soo found himself aboard a hegemony cruiser, moving through ventilation systems that were too small for most alien species. His enhanced body could survive in the ship's alien atmosphere, and his human unpredictability made him invisible to the ship's logical security systems. Found the computer core, he whispered into his communicator as he looked at a room full of crystalline structures. Instead of trying to steal information, he began rearranging the crystals in random patterns. To human eyes, it looked like chaos. To the alien computer, it was gibberish that caused system-wide failures. Similar missions were happening throughout the hegemony fleet. Enhanced humans were infiltrating alien ships and causing problems that logical minds couldn't solve. Security systems failed because humans bypassed them in ways the designers never considered. Weapons stopped working because human saboteurs created failures that alien engineers couldn't understand. Meanwhile, Jae-hyun had completed his greatest invention, a ship that could adapt and change during battle. The vessel looked like a standard human fighter, but its hull could reshape itself, its weapons could reconfigure in seconds, and its engines could switch between different types of propulsion. It's not just a ship, he explained to So-young. It's a living machine that learns from every battle. Each time it fights, it gets better at surviving. The ship's first test pilot was an enhanced volunteer named Nari, who had lost her home on Busan Prime. As she flew the adaptive fighter against alien patrol ships, the vessel began changing in response to enemy tactics. When aliens fired energy weapons, the hull shifted to deflect them. When they used missiles, the ship grew additional armor. When they tried to ram her, the fighter split into multiple smaller vessels that attacked from all directions. "This is impossible," Nari laughed as she watched her ship rebuild itself around her. "I love it." Back on Earth, the refugee camps had transformed into thriving communities. The temporary shelters had been replaced with permanent buildings designed using hybrid human-alien technology. Children who had known only life among the stars were now growing up with a fierce pride in their human heritage. Old Sunja, the woman who had lost her home on Titan Station, now ran a school where refugee children learned both human history and alien technology. "We're not trying to be like them," she told her students. "We're trying to be better than them by staying true to ourselves." As Earth's capabilities grew stronger, the hegemony commanders grew more worried. Their reports to the Galactic Confederation were filled with confusion and concern. "The humans are not behaving according to any logical military doctrine," Vextai reported. "They appear to be using chaos itself as a weapon. Our tactical computers cannot predict their actions because their actions make no logical sense." His superior's crystalline shell pulsed with agitation. "Impossible. All species follow logical patterns. Analyze their behavior more carefully. We have analyzed for months. The only pattern is that there is no pattern. They change tactics randomly, make decisions that seem designed to fail, then succeed anyway. It is as if they are immune to logical prediction." The alien confederation began to realize they had made a serious mistake. They had assumed that containing humanity on Earth would weaken them. Instead, the pressure was forging humans into something stronger and more dangerous than they had ever been before. Earth wasn't becoming a prison. It was becoming a weapon, and humanity was almost ready to use it. Captain Minho Kang's smuggling ship drifted silently through the asteroid belt, its engines powered down to avoid detection. Through his cockpit window, he could see the massive alien vessels that now surrounded Earth's solar system like a deadly net. The hegemony blockade had been in place for 6 months and not a single human ship had successfully broken through. "There," whispered his co-pilot, pointing to a gap between 2 alien cruisers. "We might be able to slip through there." Minho shook his head. "Too obvious. They're leaving that gap on purpose. It's a trap." He had been running blockade missions for months, trying to gather intelligence about the alien forces. Each attempt taught them more about hegemony tactics, but the cost was getting higher. 3 ships had been destroyed in the last week alone, and Earth's remaining fleet was getting smaller every day. On Earth, scientist Yoon Young Lim worked in an underground laboratory that had once been a subway tunnel. The surface facilities were too exposed to alien surveillance, so humanity's best minds had moved their research underground. She stared at the alien technology fragments that Minho had managed to recover from destroyed hegemony ships. "The power source doesn't make sense," she told her assistant, a young engineer named Junho. "It's incredibly efficient, but the design is completely different from human engineering principles." Junho looked over her shoulder at the strange crystalline structures. "Different how? Human technology is designed to work under stress, to keep functioning even when damaged. This alien tech is perfect when it works, but if one component fails, the whole system shuts down." General Hyunwoo Park studied tactical reports in his command center deep beneath Seoul. The situation was getting worse every week. The hegemony wasn't just blockading Earth. They were testing its defenses with small attacks. Probe ships would dart in, scan Earth's military installations, and retreat before human forces could respond. "They're learning our weaknesses," he told Admiral Subin Lee during their daily briefing. "Every probe gives them more information about how we fight." Subin looked exhausted. Her remaining ships were spread thin, trying to protect a whole planet with limited resources. "Our pilots are good, but their technology is centuries ahead of ours. We can't win a straight fight." "Then we don't fight straight," Hyunwoo replied. "Humans have always been better at improvisation than following rules." Dr. Hyejin Park had made another disturbing discovery in her biological research. The alien biotechnology in human bodies wasn't just making them dependent on Earth. It was getting stronger. Humans who had been in space recently were becoming more sick, more unable to leave Earth's atmosphere. "It's like a timer," she explained to the emergency council meeting. "The longer someone was in space, the faster the biotechnology works. In a few more years, any human who tries to leave Earth will die within hours." The council members sat in stunned silence. Minister Yejin Han spoke first. "So we're not just blockaded. We're being biologically locked to this planet." "It gets worse," Yejin continued. "I've been monitoring communications from the former colonies. The humans there are changing too. Each generation becomes more alien, more hostile to Earth. In 50 years, they might not be recognizably human at all." That night, Minho made another attempt to break through the blockade. This time he tried a different approach. Instead of sneaking past the alien ships, he flew directly toward them with his weapons powered down and communication systems broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Captain Minho Kang of Earth," he transmitted. "I'm requesting permission to speak with your commander." The response came immediately. 3 alien fighters surrounded his ship and escorted him to one of the massive hegemony cruisers. Minho found himself in a pristine white chamber facing a tall alien with silver skin and 4 arms. "You are brave or foolish, human," the alien said. "I am Commander Vextai of the hegemony fleet. You will surrender your ship and be processed." Minho stood his ground. "I want to know why. Why are you doing this to us?" The alien's large eyes showed what might have been surprise. "You truly do not understand? Your species is chaos incarnate. You create solutions to problems that do not exist. You adapt in ways that break natural order. You are dangerous to the stability of galactic civilization. We've lived peacefully with dozens of alien species for centuries." "Peace?" Vextai made a sound that might have been laughter. "You call it peace when you force others to adapt to your unpredictable ways? When you create technologies that challenge established methods, your very existence destabilizes everything around you." Minho realized he was getting valuable intelligence, so you decided to cage us. We decided to contain you before you could corrupt more worlds. Your colonies have been cleansed of your chaotic influence. They now follow proper galactic protocols. The conversation ended when Vextai ordered Minho's arrest. But the captain had learned something important. The hegemony wasn't just afraid of human aggression, they were afraid of human unpredictability. Minho escaped during a carefully planned distraction, using tactics that the logical aliens couldn't anticipate. He flew his ship in seemingly random patterns, making decisions that no computer could predict. The alien pursuit ships, designed for logical engagement, couldn't match his chaotic flight path. Back on Earth, Yun Young had been working with the information Minho gathered. The alien technology's greatest strength was also its weakness. It relied on predictable, logical systems. Human engineering was messy, adaptable, and full of backup systems. "We can't match their power," she told General Hyunwoo, "but we can outthink them. Their ships are like perfect machines. Our ships are like living things that can survive damage and keep fighting." Hyunwoo began developing new tactics based on this insight. Instead of trying to match alien firepower, human forces would use creativity and unpredictability. They would make decisions that seemed illogical to alien minds. The first test came when a hegemony probe fleet attacked Earth's moon base. Instead of meeting them with standard defensive formations, Hyunwoo had his ships scatter in apparently random directions. Some flew directly at the alien vessels, others retreated, and a few seemed to ignore the battle entirely. The alien commanders, expecting logical resistance, found themselves confused by the human response. Ships they had dismissed as retreating suddenly attacked from unexpected angles. Vessels that seemed damaged continued fighting with jury-rigged weapons. When the battle ended, the humans had lost 3 ships but destroyed 5 alien vessels. More importantly, they had proven that alien superiority could be challenged. Bexitai reported the battle results to his superiors with obvious frustration. "The humans fight without logic or strategy. They make decisions that our tactical computers cannot predict. It is disturbing." His superior, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, pulsed with annoyance. "They are contained on their homeworld. Soon their biology will make escape impossible even if they break the blockade." "Patience, Commander. Chaos cannot survive indefinitely." But on Earth, in the underground laboratories and hidden military bases, humanity was proving that chaos could indeed survive. More than that, it could thrive. Cut off from the galaxy, rejected by their own colonies and surrounded by enemies, humans were doing what they had always done best. They were adapting. They were innovating. And they were getting angry. Minho stood in his ship's cockpit, looking out at the alien blockade that imprisoned his species. But for the first time in months, he was smiling. The aliens thought they had won by caging humanity on Earth. They were about to learn their mistake. The refugee camp stretched as far as Commander Jinwoo Choi could see. What had once been green farmland outside Seoul was now covered with temporary shelters, housing nearly 2 million displaced people. The smell of cooking fires and unwashed bodies filled the air as families tried to build new lives from nothing. Jinwoo walked through the muddy paths between tents, watching children play games with sticks and stones. These kids had grown up on distant worlds with advanced technology. Now they were learning to survive with the most basic tools. Their parents sat in groups talking quietly about the homes they had lost. "Commander," called Dr. Ye Jin Han as she approached with a tablet full of reports. As Earth's lead diplomat, she had been working day and night trying to make sense of the crisis. "We've received responses from the hegemony about our peace proposals." Jinwoo stopped walking. Good news or bad news? They rejected everything. They won't even consider letting humans leave the solar system for trade or exploration. According to them, we're too dangerous to be allowed among other species. A group of refugees nearby overheard and gathered around them. These were people who had spent decades living peacefully with alien neighbors on the outer worlds. The idea that humans were dangerous seemed impossible to them. "What did we do wrong?" asked an elderly woman named Sunja. "I lived on Titan Station for 30 years. The alien traders there were like family to us. Now they won't even answer our messages." Yejin had no answer for her. The diplomatic reports made no sense. Species that had worked with humans for generations were now claiming they had always found humans frightening and aggressive. It was as if someone had rewritten history. Engineer Bo-Ram Song spent her days in the makeshift workshops that refugees had built around the camps. Without access to advanced alien technology, humans were forced to rebuild everything from scratch. But Bo-Ram noticed something interesting in the process. "We're getting better at this," she told her assistant as they worked on a water purification system. "These designs are actually more efficient than what we used on the colonies." Her assistant, a young man named Kite, looked confused. "How is that possible?" The aliens gave us much more advanced technology. Boram wiped grease from her hands and smiled. That's just it. The alien technology was advanced, but it wasn't designed for humans. We had to modify everything to make it work for us. Now that we're building from scratch, we can design things the human way. The water purifier hummed to life, processing contaminated water faster than the alien versions they had used on the colonies. Boram made notes for improvements, already thinking of ways to make it even better. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was dealing with a different kind of problem. Reports were coming in from his security teams about growing unrest in the camps. People were angry, and they were starting to blame each other for the disaster. The Outer Rim refugees think the Core World refugees are soft, reported Captain Minho Kang, who had been running supply missions between camps. The Core World people think the Rim folks brought this on themselves by trusting aliens too much. Jinwoo rubbed his temples. 50 million refugees were crowded onto a planet that had grown used to a much smaller population. Food was running short, medical supplies were limited, and tempers were rising. The last thing they needed was humans fighting each other. The breaking point came when Dr. Hae-jin Park made a disturbing discovery. She had been analyzing biological samples from refugees, looking for any sign of the diseases the colonies claimed Earth people carried. What she found was worse than any disease. The samples show traces of alien biotechnology, she told Jinwoo in her temporary lab. Microscopic machines designed to alter human biology. But they're not making us sick. They're making us incompatible with alien environments. Jinwoo stared at the test results. You mean someone deliberately poisoned us? Not poisoned. Modified. These machines have been altering human biology for years, maybe decades. They've been designed to make sure humans can only survive on Earth-like worlds. Anyone who leaves Earth eventually becomes dependent on Earth's specific environment. The implications hit Jinwoo like a physical blow. That's why the colonists are throwing us out. We literally can't survive on their worlds anymore, and they can't survive if they come back to Earth. Hee-jin nodded grimly. The hegemony has been planning this for a long time. They've systematically engineered humanity's exile from space. As if summoned by their conversation, the alien transmission that changed everything arrived the next morning. Massive alien ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, and their leader's face filled every screen on Earth. The hegemony representative was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical. Humans of Earth, your exile is now complete. Your colonies have chosen evolution over stagnation by joining our confederation. You will remain on your homeworld permanently. Any attempt to leave your solar system will result in your planet's destruction. The alien paused, and its expression almost seemed to show pity. You have proven yourselves to be aggressive, unpredictable, and dangerous to galactic peace. Your own children have rejected you. Accept your isolation with dignity. The transmission ended, but the damage was done. Across the refugee camps, people watched in horror as their worst fears were confirmed. Not only were they exiled from their colonies, but their own children had chosen sides against them. Within hours, new transmissions began arriving from the former human colonies. But these weren't from the aliens. They were from humans who had stayed behind. Former colonists who now called themselves evolved Terrans appeared on screens across Earth. People of Earth, said a woman who had once been the governor of New Seoul, we have chosen progress over the past. The hegemony has shown us technologies and ways of thinking that Earth could never provide. We are no longer bound by human limitations. The broadcast showed images of gleaming cities and advanced technology. The former colonists looked healthier and stronger than before. They moved with an alien grace that seemed unnatural. We invite any Earth humans to join us, the governor continued. But only if you are willing to leave your primitive ways behind. Become evolved like us, and you can have a place in the galactic community. The broadcast continued for hours, each one showing former human colonies thriving under alien guidance. Children who had been born on Earth but raised in the colonies now spoke against their homeworld with alien words and alien ideas. Jinwoo watched the broadcasts with a growing sense of horror. The hegemony hadn't just taken the colonies, they had converted them. Humans who stayed in space were being transformed into something else. Something that saw Earth as backward and dangerous. They're not human anymore, whispered Ye-jin as she watched her own daughter speak from Busan Prime. They look human, but the way they think, the way they talk, it's alien. That night, Jin Woo stood on a hill overlooking the largest refugee camp. Millions of people were settling in for another night in temporary shelters, but they weren't giving up. In the distance, he could see the glow of workshops where Boram and others were building new tools and machines. He could hear the sound of teachers holding classes for children who would grow up knowing only Earth. The galaxy had rejected humanity. Their own colonies had turned against them. Even their own children had chosen aliens over their heritage. Earth was surrounded by enemies, cut off from the stars, overcrowded and struggling. But as Jin Woo watched the lights of human activity spread across the landscape, he realized something important. Earth wasn't just a prison, it was a forge, and humanity was about to be tested in ways they had never imagined. Captain Tae-ho Kim stared at the red warning lights flashing across his ship's control panel. The emergency signals had been coming in for 3 days straight, each one worse than the last. His hands gripped the chair as another message arrived from the outer colonies. This is New Sol Colony calling all Earth ships. We no longer recognize Earth's authority. All Earth citizens must leave within 48 hours or face imprisonment. Tae-ho closed his eyes. New Sol had been humanity's crown jewel, a thriving world with millions of people. Now they were throwing out anyone born on Earth like unwanted garbage. Captain, called his communications officer, we're getting similar messages from Busan Prime and Daegu Station. They're all rejecting Earth. Dr. Hyojin Park stood behind Tae-ho, her face pale as she read the reports on her tablet. As a scientist who studied alien life, she had spent years traveling between human colonies. Now those same colonies wanted nothing to do with Earth. It doesn't make sense, she said quietly. These colonies depended on Earth for everything. Food, medicine, technology. Why would they suddenly turn against us? Admiral Subin Lee's voice crackled through the ship's speakers from her flagship. All rescue ships prepare for emergency evacuation. We have reports of violence against Earthborn citizens on multiple worlds. Tae-ho activated his ship's engines. His cargo vessel had been carrying supplies to the outer rim, but now it would carry people fleeing for their lives. The irony wasn't lost on him. The same ships that had brought hope to the colonies were now bringing refugees back to Earth. The first refugees Tae-ho picked up came from a mining station near the edge of human space. They crowded into his cargo hold, families clutching whatever belongings they could carry. An old man named Wu Jin sat in the corner staring at nothing. 50 years, Wu Jin whispered. I spent 50 years building that mine. My children were born there. Yesterday they told me I was poison. That Earth people carry disease. He-jin knelt beside him. What kind of disease? Did they say? Some alien sickness. They said we spread it just by being near them. Said their alien friends warned them about us. Wu Jin's voice broke. My own son threw rocks at me, called me a plague carrier. As more refugees came aboard, the stories got worse. Colony after colony was turning against Earth. Some claimed Earth people carried alien diseases. Others said Earth was planning to invade and enslave the colonies. The most painful stories came from families torn apart. Children choosing to stay with their colony worlds while their Earth-born parents were forced to leave. Hye-jin worked day and night, testing the refugees for any sign of disease. She found nothing. Whatever the colonies claimed about Earth people being sick was a lie, but the lies were spreading faster than any real disease could. I found something, she told Tae-ho after 3 sleepless days. I've been analyzing the colony broadcasts, the language patterns, the specific claims they're making. It's too similar across different worlds. She showed him recordings from 5 different colonies. Each one used almost identical words to describe why Earth people were dangerous. Each one mentioned the same alien confederation that had supposedly warned them. Someone is feeding them these ideas, Hye-jin continued. The colonies aren't deciding this on their own. They're being manipulated. Admiral Subin's fleet worked around the clock to evacuate Earth citizens. Her ships moved from world to world, racing against time as more colonies turned hostile. Some refugees came willingly, relieved to escape growing violence. Others had to be rescued from angry mobs. The worst moment came when they reached the agricultural world of Gwangju. The colonists there had been Earth's friends for decades, supplying food to nearby settlements. But when Subin's ships arrived, they found the spaceport burning. They destroyed their own landing facilities, reported one of her captains. The colonists say they don't want Earth ships contaminating their world. Subin watched through her ship's cameras as thousands of Earth-born farmers stood behind the burning port, holding signs and shouting at her ships. These people had worked side by side with the colonists for years. Now they were treated like enemies. "We can't land," her pilot said. "They've placed weapons around the port. They'll shoot if we try." Subin made the hardest decision of her career. "Emergency beam out. Get our people off that world now." Her ships used their transporters to rescue Earth citizens directly from the planet's surface. Families were pulled away from their homes in beams of light while their former neighbors cheered. The evacuated farmers cried as they watched their life's work disappear below them. Back on Earth, the refugee crisis was growing worse every day. Ships arrived constantly, carrying millions of displaced people. The planet's infrastructure couldn't handle the sudden population increase. Tent cities sprang up around every major spaceport. Food became scarce as agricultural colonies stopped trading with Earth. Tejo's ship was one of the last to return from the outer rim. His cargo hold was packed with refugees and his fuel was nearly gone. As Earth grew larger on his view screen, he felt a mixture of relief and dread. They were home, but for how long? "Captain," his communications officer called out. "We're receiving a transmission from an unknown alien source." The main screen flickered, showing a collection of alien faces Tejo had never seen before. The lead figure spoke in perfect human language. "People of Earth, we are the hegemony. Your colonies have chosen to join our confederation of civilized worlds. You have been found unsuitable for galactic society. This is your only warning. Remain on your homeworld or face the consequences." The transmission ended, leaving Tejo's crew in stunned silence. The aliens looked different from any species humanity had encountered before. Their message was clear. Humans were no longer welcome among the stars. As his ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Tejo saw the refugee camps spreading across the continents below. Millions of people who had spent their lives building humanity's future among the stars were now crowded onto the world their species had started from. The golden age of human expansion was over. The colonies they had nurtured for centuries had rejected them. An alien confederation had declared humanity unfit for space. Earth, once the launching point for human dreams, had become a prison. But as Tejo guided his ship toward the landing pad, he saw something else in the refugee camps below. Despite their losses, despite being thrown out of their homes, the people were organizing. They were building. They were adapting. Humanity had been rejected by all worlds. Earth had become their sanctuary. The question now was what they would do with it. Admiral Dong Hyun-shin stood before the largest gathering of human military leaders in Earth's history. The underground command center buzzed with activity, as officers from every remaining human force prepared for Operation Homecoming. This wasn't just a military campaign. It was humanity's declaration that they would no longer accept exile from the stars. "The goal isn't conquest," Dong Hyun told the assembled commanders. "It's liberation. We're going to prove that humans and aliens can coexist without one side dominating the other." The plan was audacious beyond belief. Instead of trying to break the hegemony blockade and escape, Earth's forces would smash through it and head directly for the former human colonies. They would liberate not just human settlements, but any alien species oppressed by the hegemony's rigid control. Captain Young-Soo Kim led the first wave of assault ships through the asteroid belt. His enhanced soldiers carried weapons that could adapt to any situation and wore armor that repaired itself during battle. These weren't the desperate refugees who had fled to Earth 2 years ago. They were hardened fighters who had been forged by adversity. "Remember," Young-Soo told his troops as they approached the first hegemony patrol, "we're not here to destroy them. We're here to show them there's a better way." The battle began with classic human unpredictability. Instead of attacking the alien ships, Young-Soo's forces broadcast messages in dozens of alien languages. The transmissions contained evidence of hegemony oppression against minor species, along with offers of sanctuary on liberated worlds. Commander Vextai watched in confusion as human ships flew past his defensive positions without firing a shot. "What are they doing? This makes no tactical sense." His confusion turned to alarm when his own crew began questioning their orders. Many of Vextai's soldiers belonged to species that had been conquered by the hegemony decades ago. The human broadcasts were reminding them of freedoms they had lost. Meanwhile, diplomat Jiwon Lee was working behind the scenes with alien refugees who had secretly fled to Earth during the blockade. These were members of species that didn't fit the hegemony's vision of galactic order. Artists, philosophers, and free thinkers who had been marked for correction. The hegemony controls through fear, Ji-won explained to her diverse team of alien allies. They make everyone believe that order requires surrendering freedom. We're going to prove them wrong. Her team included a crystalline being named Zeph who could communicate through light patterns, a gas-based creature called Wisp who existed as living music, and dozen others. Each had fled hegemony space because their very existence challenged the Confederation's rigid rules. The breakthrough came when these alien allies made contact with resistance movements throughout hegemony space. Dozens of species had been secretly organizing against their oppressors, waiting for someone to light the spark of rebellion. Earth is offering something the hegemony never could, Zeph communicated through brilliant flashes of colored light. Not just freedom from oppression, but freedom to be different. The first major victory came at the mining world of Kepler Station. Youngsu's forces arrived to find the planet in chaos. The human colonists who had rejected Earth were fighting against alien overseers who had become increasingly controlling. "We made a mistake," admitted the station's former governor, a man named Dongwu, who had once broadcast propaganda against Earth. "The aliens promised us evolution, but they gave us slavery." Youngsu's enhanced soldiers fought alongside the rebels, using tactics that confused the logical hegemony forces. Human creativity combined with desperate colonial knowledge of local conditions created a military force unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The liberation of Kepler Station sent shockwaves through hegemony space. For the first time, a world had successfully broken free from Confederation control. More importantly, humans and aliens were working together as equals rather than master and servant. Dr. Seung-ho Yoon arrived with the second wave, bringing medical teams to help colonists who had been subjected to alien biological modification. Many of the evolved Terrans wanted to return to their original human biology, while others chose to keep their modifications but regain their human thinking patterns. "You don't have to choose between being human and being evolved," Seung-ho told a group of confused colonists. "You can be both. That's what makes us human. We adapt without losing who we are." The most emotional moment came when families were reunited. Parents who had been exiled from colonies embraced children who had been taught to hate Earth. The alien biotechnology that had separated them was slowly being reversed, allowing human biology to reassert itself. Admiral Dong Hyun's main fleet arrived at New Seoul just as the planet's defense system was collapsing. The former human colony was in civil war, with some residents fighting to maintain hegemony control, while others demanded the return of human governance. Instead of choosing sides, Dong Hyun made an unprecedented decision. "New Seoul will be a free world," he announced. "Neither purely human nor purely alien, but a place where all species can live according to their own nature." The planet became the first success of humanity's new approach. Humans, aliens, and hybrid beings worked together to build a society based on cooperation rather than domination. Former hegemony slaves found themselves free to express their unique cultures for the first time in generations. Jae Hyun-oh's adaptive technology played a crucial role in the liberation campaigns. His ships could reconfigure themselves to work with alien allies, sharing technology and tactics in real time. What had started as purely human engineering became something greater, a fusion of the best ideas from dozens of species. "We're not just building better ships," Jae-hyun told Bo-ram as they watched human and alien engineers working side by side. "We're building a better way of thinking about technology." The turning point came when 3 entire hegemony fleets defected to the human cause. Admiral Vexti himself led the first defection, bringing classified information about hegemony weaknesses and oppression. "I have seen what humans offer," he announced in a broadcast that reached every corner of hegemony space. "Not conquest, but partnership. Not uniformity, but diversity. Not perfection, but the freedom to grow and change." His defection triggered an avalanche of rebellions throughout alien space. Species that had been suppressed for generations rose up against their hegemony overseers. Pirates, refugees, and outcasts flocked to human-liberated worlds, creating a growing coalition of the galaxy's free spirits. The final confrontation came when Earth's forces reached the hegemony's core worlds. But instead of a massive battle, they found a confederation already in collapse. The rigid system that had seemed so powerful was crumbling under the weight of its own contradictions. The hegemony's leadership, a council of pure energy beings who had ruled through perfect logic, found themselves facing something they couldn't understand or control. Chaos, creativity, and cooperation had proven stronger than order, efficiency, and domination. "You have destroyed galactic stability," the lead council member accused humanity during the final negotiations. Ji-Wan Lee smiled as she responded. "We've replaced your fake stability with real strength. The galaxy doesn't need to be controlled. It needs to be free." The war ended not with conquest, but with transformation. The hegemony's oppressive structure was dissolved, replaced by a loose confederation of free worlds centered around Earth. Not because humans were superior, but because they had proven that diversity was stronger than uniformity. Captain Young-Soo stood on the observation deck of New Seoul Station, watching ships from dozens of species dock at the growing spaceport. Humans, aliens, and hybrid beings worked together, each contributing their unique abilities to the common good. "We were rejected by all worlds," he said to his second-in-command, the enhanced soldier Kyung-Soo. "Earth became our sanctuary, and now we've made the whole galaxy a sanctuary for anyone who values freedom." Earth, the world that had been dismissed as primitive and dangerous, had become the heart of a new galactic civilization, not through conquest or conversion, but by offering something the universe had never seen before, a place where being different was celebrated rather than corrected. The refugees who had crowded into camps just 3 years earlier were now spreading across the galaxy again. But this time they weren't just colonists or explorers. They were liberators carrying the message that chaos and creativity were not flaws to be eliminated, but strengths to be embraced. Humanity had been tested by exile and emerged stronger. They had been rejected by their own children and won them back through example rather than force. They had faced the combined might of galactic civilization and proven that freedom was more powerful than any weapon. Earth remained their sanctuary, but now it was also something more. A beacon of hope for every being in the galaxy who dared to be different. The species that had been too dangerous for civilized space had taught civilization itself a new way to exist. And in the end, that made all the suffering worthwhile.